Hi, welcome to a quick overview of Texas freshwater levels. And in this lab, you are going to be looking at Texas freshwater levels. And I want to take just a few minutes and go over some of the highlights with you, just to sort of help direct you through this and give you some pointers to maybe make the lab flow a little bit easier. So I'll go ahead and click over very quickly, and here you go. Okay, the student learning objective is the same as always. These will always be on your labs because they help provide for accreditation for what we do, and to make sure that whenever you transfer to somewhere else, if you transfer, that your classes will retain credit. Freshwater is a very, very important resource, and that's sort of a duh statement, but it's something that you really take for granted, or at least I know for a long time I did, and to an extent I still do. I take for granted that whenever I turn on the faucet, water's going to come out. I take for granted whenever I go to flush the toilet after doing my business that they will have water in it. I take for granted that whenever I go to take a shower, I will actually have water in my shower. And all of that water has to come from somewhere. I live in a suburb right outside of Waco. So my water comes from a variety of places. Sometimes it comes from a well, and sometimes it's purchased from the city of Waco. This lab is all about finding out how much water there is in Texas and how much of it is accessible. The lab itself makes use of a third-party website called waterdatafortexas.org. And you will see a link for that listed below here. The lab itself is on page 201, is where it starts. And it's very self-explanatory. I spent a long time writing these directions. You may have to read them kind of slowly. You may have to read them multiple times. But you should be able to walk yourself through it pretty quickly. The link for the website is posted below, so as soon as you click it, it'll take you to where you need to go. A few things that I really want you to emphasize. I chose to pick on Waco Lake, which I call it Lake Waco also, but the official name is Waco Lake, not Lake Waco. So why is it backwards? I don't know. It's kind of like whenever you learn Spanish. The descriptive goes before or after, and it changes around from an English speaker. I don't know why we call it Lake Waco. I think Lake Waco sounds better than Waco Lake, but that's also because I'm used to calling it Lake Waco. But that's why in here it's referred to as Waco Lake, is because that's the official name. The terminology and things that are used here are specific to two lakes. Twin Buttes, which you can go ahead and giggle because butte kind of looks like butt. Twin butts, but it's not. It's Twin Buttes. Waco Lake and Twin Buttes Lake. I intentionally picked these two for a reason. I picked Lake Waco Lake. I'm going to call it Lake Waco now. I picked Lake Waco because it's most likely to affect your drinking water. The odds are, if you're taking this class from McLennan, you live in McLennan or near McLennan County, you're more likely to be impacted by Lake Waco than you are a different lake. I picked Twin Buttes because it's located close enough that you could drive there within a day, but it really exemplifies the problem with water levels. It's designed as an overflow lake, yes, that's true, and it spends more time being dry than full, which is a contrast to Lake Waco, which is why I chose the two. There's a few other things that I want you to pay attention to, and you'll see all the different details here, but again, Twin Buttes is the one that I selected, and that's why. It's on the edge of West Texas, and it really sort of exemplifies what I'm looking for, so you can get two good contrasts. Another thing that you'll look at are aquifer levels or ground well, and these might actually be aquatards, aquifers. I'll just refer them all as blanket aquifers. You're going to look at how much water is available today. You're going to look at what percentage full they were a year ago to kind of see how the water levels are changing inside of the reservoirs, like Lake Waco or Twin Buttes, not Twin Butts. And you're going to see all these different measurements and points. And there's also a few terms that you'll need to look up in the glossary. That's because I want you to have a basic understanding of how these things work. You'll notice the elevation levels, though, will be much higher than you're expecting. In some cases, like with some lakes, it'll be 1,400 feet. You're like, man, that's a deep lake. That's like a quarter of a mile deep. No, if the lake level says 750, that doesn't mean that the lake is actually 750 feet deep. Long time ago, they conducted a study, and they did some surveying of the state, and they established what is roughly sea level, and then another map determined just a base level, and it's a reference to that. So if it says that it's at 746 feet, I'm just making up a number here. That means it's 746 feet above the survey line. Okay? So it would be just like if I drew a line, I dug 600 feet under my house, and I said, okay, I want to measure stuff from here, because my house is roughly 600 feet above sea level. So if I said that I'm going to measure it, or whatever, I would then measure it starting 600 feet below my house. So if a dam's level is 1,246 and it's at 2% full, that doesn't mean that the water is a quarter of a mile deep. It just means that it's 3% full, meaning it looks more like a puddle, and the base of it is 1,246 feet, or whatever I just said, above sea level or above the survey mark. Okay? So I just want to clarify that with you. So whenever lake levels are talking about what level, what's the height of the dam, or what's the height of the water on the dam right now, that's what they're talking about. Okay, the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory. You're going to have to jump back and forth from the very beginning of the lab to the end, but again, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's not a whole lot of direction that's needed, or at least I don't think so. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave you there with that one as this intro. You're going to learn all about the lake. And this is one that I would bookmark this on whatever web browser you generally use, because it really comes in handy whenever they're talking about all the rain, if there's an excessive amount of rain, or if you're in a drought. This is a great website that you can go back to and really see how much of a difference there really is. And it updates pretty frequently. In some cases, it's every day, every week, etc. And that's part of your lab, and you'll find all that out. But, yeah. All right. I think that's a good place for me to go ahead and stop. So, welcome to Freshwater. And if you need something, message me. Otherwise, get on out there and live that dream, man. And fight that power, because nobody's going to live it or fight it for you. And enjoy freshwater. Bye.